Today is December 13, 2023. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. We've got some good news this week regarding pro-life activities. And the first comes from Bowling Green, Ohio. They're a 20-year-old college student from the Bowling Green University, pled guilty to vandalizing a pregnancy care center in town, in Bowling Green. He spray painted pro-abortion messages on the outside wall of the building. And some of the messages were fake clinic, liars, abort God, Jane's revenge. And he hasn't been sentenced yet, but he could face up to 1 year in prison or jail. I'm not sure what kind of a facility he's going to be incarcerated in. But while that is a good thing, it does pale in comparison to the kind of sentence that Mark Houck could have received if he had been convicted of violating the FACE Act, which is the same federal law that this man in Bowling Green was being charged with. Remember, we have talked many times about Mark Houck from Philadelphia, arrested for supposedly, knocking down a abortion clinic escort, but he was going to be facing, if convicted, an 11-year prison term and pay a fine of $350,000. So obviously 11 years is a whole lot harsher than 1 year. But I suppose we should take what we can get in this kind of a culture where if you're a liberal, if you're pro-abortion, the law seems to look the other way in many respects. But if you're a pro-lifer, they want to throw the book at you. But he will get, most likely, a 1 year prison term. Okay, number 2. This morning, the U.S. Supreme Court announced that they will hear an appeal to an appellate court ruling on the legal status of the abortion pill, mifepristone. Last year, a district court judge, we talked about him before too, ruled that the FDA erred when it approved the drug's sale before it had been comprehensively tested. Problems with flawed protocols, issues of how it affects women's health. The district judge, also ruled against the Biden administration. It wrongfully expanded mifepristone to be used up to the 10th week of pregnancy, where before it had only been permitted by the FDA up to 7 weeks of pregnancy. The Court of Appeals of the circuit also ruled that the abortionists, the doctors, could no longer send abortion pills through the mail, but must be dispensed in person. That's a big victory there. So most likely, the High Court will not hear this case. Well, obviously, they're not going to hear it this year, so they'll most likely hear it in 2024. And it's difficult to say, when the ruling is going to come down. A lot of that depends on which month the oral argument will be held. So maybe in the late summer, the term ends at the end of September. So maybe in August or September, but it all depends on when they hear the oral argument. So it's a key decision. I'm not going to make any kind of prediction ahead of time because, even though we do have a conservative court that overturned Roe v. Wade, praise the Lord, I can't say that this case is quite the same. So I'm going to hold my judgment. Maybe we'll get a better or a clear indication of how the justices will rule based on their questions and oral argument. So we'll have to wait for that. Last item. And I talked about this several months ago about a case or situation in New Mexico. A county and 3 other localities passed ordinances that prohibited the abortion pill mifepristone from being dispensed through the mail. It had to be an in-person kind of a thing, but not in the mail. Well, the state attorney general has stepped in and has appealed to the state Supreme Court to find the right to abortion in the state constitution, which has never been located before by any court. And it's pretty obvious that the wording is not there, because if it had been there, it would have been a done deal. But they're trying to, the state of New Mexico is trying to basically they're trying to tell or pressure the state Supreme Court to find the right of abortion in that state constitution. Well, the Alliance Defending Freedom is representing the county, it's Roosevelt County, and 3 other localities. And I'm going to give a quote here from the ADF attorney representing this county. Quote, "Government officials like the Attorney General of New Mexico do not have the power to bypass ordinary legal processes to further their political agenda. We urge the court to allow Roosevelt County and the other New Mexico localities to enforce ordinances that comply with federal law and protect the lives of children and others." So we'll see how that plays out. I know that New Mexico is a much more liberal state than neighboring Arizona, and far more liberal than much more conservative Texas. So New Mexico and Colorado have carved out as those Western states that definitely lean liberal and pro-abortion. So, I don't want to say I have my doubts, that it's not going to go our way, but we'll have to wait and see. Alliance Defending Freedom is a great organization that has defended pro-lifers far and wide, including that lady, that Isabel, I can't think of her last name now, the lady in England that has been arrested 2 or 3 times for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic in Birmingham, England. So, and I've talked about her a lot too. How can you arrest somebody for the thoughts that you have in your head? How can they do that in a country that supposedly supports free speech? And that would be silent speech. I have a hard time believing that would even happen in a democratic country like the United Kingdom. But she's been arrested 3 times. So I suppose even in democracies, strange things can happen, as we have seen in our country as well as in Canada. So with those good news items, I will let you go, and I will see you next time.